What up, YouTube? It's your boy Burner420, and today on this episode we got Jumpsuit Pablo. He's a TikToker. He also does all kinds of different social medias, which are all going to be linked below. So make sure you guys pick him up on every platform. Before we get into this, I just want to say thank you guys for all the subs, and thank you guys for consistently being on the channel and always dropping likes and comments. It means a lot to us. I'm gonna go into a couple questions. But before I do that, I want him to go ahead and give you guys a proper introduction. So I'm going to pass the mic over to him.
What's up, y'all? Yeah, like you said, I'm Jumpsuit Pablo. Been out of prison about 2 years now. Did 10 years in prison for some armed robberies. Yeah, started out on TikTok, moved over to YouTube, got a little something going on. So, yeah, just still on that journey right there. And I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, man. It's an honor. I'm trying to get to the root of the problem. So like, how was your childhood? Like, where did you grow up? What were your parents like? Did you have like friends that were involved in the street life?
Honestly, man, I looking back, you know, with some maturity, I can say I didn't really grow up anywhere that had any type of street life or was particularly dangerous. You know, as a young guy, you like to think that you're in somewhere dangerous just because you want to, you know what I mean? You think it's cool and everything, but it wasn't really like that, you know. But growing up, just actually, you know, my dad is a preacher, or he was a preacher, you know, he's retired now. So it was that type of family. So it honestly, as a young kid, it was a very sheltered lifestyle. And I feel like I just got to an age to where I just wanted to break away from all that and start doing all the stuff I never could do. You know how it goes. I'm sure everybody, you know what I mean? It's a classic tale, you know. So just started getting into that and just took it way too far. And yeah, I mean, my buddies, they weren't really, just nothing too extreme, man. It was just, we were just partying and doing a little something here and there. And I just, you know, I liked it, and I just always wanted to push it further, and just pushed it too far, you know.
Absolutely. I kind of relate to that because I grew up in Utah. So there's a lot of like going to church when we were kids. We were forced to do that. And then it just gets to a point where you just realize you don't agree with that specific topic, and you just kind of go off and figure out your own life. So I definitely relate to that a lot. So like, when you started getting in trouble, what age was it?
I probably first got in trouble, something minor, you know, honestly, probably around 17. You know, a lot of people get in trouble a lot younger than that. You know what I mean? I guess it just depends, you know, what you're doing. But right around 17, 18, but it was nothing really major. Just maybe some simple possession of marijuana and just some little stuff like that. But the first big thing I know, I think when I was 18, I robbed my first store. And about 3 months later, I had turned 19. I got arrested for that and ended up doing a YOA. They got a YOA, Youthful Offender Act type of sentencing in South Carolina. So if it's your first felony and you're like under a certain age, they'll kind of send you to this. It's prison, but it's more like, you know, boot camp style stuff, you know, knock some sense into you type of stuff. And it was only a few months, you know, it wasn't really enough to do anything except make me feel like, oh, well, made it through that, you know, I'm bad, you know. So came home from that. I was like still maybe 19, almost 20. And by the time I had turned 21, I ended up robbing like 2 more stores in a night, probably shortly after my 21st birthday. And that's what ultimately led to me getting 10 years.
It's crazy. Like, when we're kids, we don't understand the consequences.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely thought, you know, nothing major would ever happen to me.
Yeah.
You know, because that was never something that was a part of my life, you know, or my lifestyle. And you just think, this, you know, I see it on TV or I hear about things happen, but, you know, it's not going to happen to me. But it definitely did.
So when you first got sent to the adult prison system, what was it like for you? Was it like something that you seen in a movie, or was it totally different than you expected?
Well, you know, so on the armed robberies, I spent about 2 years in the county, which, as you know, it is a whole different ball game in the county than actually going to state prison. But it did give me time. At least I wasn't thrown straight in to the state prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
system, so it was like a buffer. It kind of let me adjust and just give me a taste of how it's going to be. So that definitely helped me adjust, and it wasn't so extreme. But man, when I first got to the state prison, you definitely feel it. You're somewhere serious.
Yeah.
It's just got real, just from the first day in there. From the first time they wheel that TV in there, that old TV like you used to have in your high school class when the substitute brings in a movie and they show you that prison rape video.
Yeah, the
You're
video.
like, yeah, the Prison Rape Elimination Act video.
Don't take the Snickers,
man. And they show you that, and they're not laughing. They're like, yeah, you need to watch this, and you're like, man, it's so serious that they got to show us this video because that stuff happens, man. And it's, that's kind of your first indication that, hey, man, I'm somewhere pretty crazy right now. But yeah, man, just getting there and totally out of my element because, man, if you got a lot of street skills, it will definitely translate over to prison in many ways. But I really didn't have any because, although I thought I was this and that, I really don't have all the street smarts I thought. So I really came in there just super naive, super green, knowing that I needed to just adapt and kind of just like watch what's going on to really learn and even have an idea of what I'm doing and what I need to do. And so that took a while, because I'm starting from scratch. And man, just coming in there as a nobody, no friends. And that's another thing, when you come in there and you're coming from a place where people don't really do stuff like that, or people don't really get into situations where they go to prison. A lot of people do come from those places. And so when you go into state prison, you automatically probably have a group of people who know you, and you got somebody to bring you in and take you right in. I didn't have any of that. I don't know, people where I'm from, they don't go to prison, so I don't know anybody. I'm just in there just trying to figure it out. And that definitely took a long time, and it was a lot of learning experience, sometimes the hard way, sometimes the easy way. But man, it was it was just a crash course, basically.
Did you have family that was there for you, or did you have certain hustles that you utilized to be able to survive?
Well, I definitely relied on family, just sending some canteen money for the first year or so of my sentence. And then, it just gets to a point, man, you're I'm in there not doing anything. I'm not even trying to learn how to like hustle, because I'm not a hustler. I'm not a guy who comes from a place where how to hustle. I don't even know what that is, so I'm relying on someone else the whole time. And it's like, it just got really old, always calling home, going through the motions, knowing that I'm going to try to bring up a way to ask for some money, and knowing that they know that they're just waiting for me to bring up the topic of money. And it just became something I dreaded doing. And I know they were getting sick of it. I was getting sick of it. And I just decided at one point, man, I'm just going to stop. If I continue calling home and keeping in touch with them, I'm only going to be tempted to just keep asking and relying. And if I always know I can rely on them, I don't have any reason to kind of throw myself off that cliff per se. And I knew that if I was just thrown into the fire, I would figure it out. So I kind of had to make the decision to throw myself into that, cut off, loved ones who I knew would send me $20 here or there. And make sure that the only way I was going to be able to survive and be independent was figuring it out in there. And so that's what I pretty much did. And, it took some time. That definitely didn't happen overnight. Started out with some pretty crappy hustles that didn't really, it was a lot of work and didn't really bring much stuff your way, but, just kind of figured it out over the years. And by the end, I think I did pretty all right.
I feel like when you're in prison, you become a burden. It's just like you said, you don't have nothing to provide for them. So all you're doing is really just taking away from people. And it just, especially people that you love, it's very hard to sit there and just ask for more and more, So I relate to that too. What was like one of the most craziest things that you saw in prison where you're like, damn, this is actually really serious and you can lose your life?
Man, I've seen a couple situations and I've been in a couple situations, but because I had to watch so much and really observe so much for so long to even learn how to even navigate through there, it definitely taught me how to move, for the most part, to where I didn't get myself into those types of situations, but I did still find myself in some of those situations. But man, just from what I saw, I mean, there's guys who are in the mix who are just doing stupid stuff or being reckless, and man, there's just some bloodthirsty guys in there, man. They get addicted to like just putting knives in people and just I mean, and if it's, that's the first thing you'll think of. But I mean, even if it's, man, I've saw a guy, I mean, lots of different stuff. What I'm trying to say, lots of different stuff and situation can really hit you in your soul in there, man. I've had a cellmate who came in there. He had never did drugs in his life, and he came in there and got on meth. Had a wife, had kids who were still supporting him. He didn't have that long to do. They were going to stick with him, and he just got paranoid and just, real suspicious and he destroyed his family, from just thinking stuff was going on that wasn't happening because he was imagining it, because he was up for days and weeks on these drugs, and just like destroyed his family, destroyed his friend base, destroyed his relationship with his kids, and just like had to watch that actively unfold. He tried to tell them, hey man, you're tripping, and they won't listen to, and just, hey, I mean, he's his own person, so just, I mean, little things like that. Guys in there who just, they're overdose. They got to be carried out. There's drugs in there, man. They overdose on heroin or Roxy's and stuff, man. They got to get carried out of there. And, man, you used to play handball with this guy on the rec court, and it's wild to see that. And then just, I mean, like some situations, I know I had a cell phone at one point, and I got into it with some Bloods, man. And these Bloods were kind of running that cell block at the time because they had a really strong, really influential guy who had just came to the yard recently, and just, they had the numbers. They usually always have the numbers, but this guy had really brought them all together and kind of unified them and had them moving, in a really strong way. And, it was one of those situations. I had a phone, and they felt like I had taken a phone that belonged to this head guy in the Bloods, which I hadn't. But as you know, I mean, a lot of contraband cell phones are going to be the same exact model of phone in there, because they'll come in 5, 10, 20 at a time, when they get thrown over. And so it was kind of one of those confusion things. And you try to explain that to him, and then he's just, he's on ecstasy, he's on, all type of stuff. And he just, he's drinking prison wine. He's not trying to hear it. So next thing you know, I'm locked in my cell, me and like 2 other of my brothers. But meanwhile, they got about 9, 10, 11 of their top guys in there with axes, poles, knives, and just, demanding the phone. I can't give you the phone, because if I do that, now I'm showing weakness in front of my gang. They're going to do something to me if you don't do something to me. And it's like, but luckily nothing happened from that, because at the last minute, he finally listened to what the exact situation was and realized that I didn't take his, the phone that was supposed to go to him. So, man, there was a lot of close calls like that. And just, I'm honestly lucky to have gotten out of there with only the scrapes and marks I got,
Yeah, absolutely. So you did time in South Carolina Department of Corrections, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that prison is one of the most widely televised prison, as in inmates with cell phones and whatnot, because I've talked to a few inmates that actually did a lot of time there, and if you get caught with a phone, they just kind of send you to the hole for a little bit, and then when you get back out, you can get another one.
Yeah, man, and they don't even, it's not even the first time you get caught with one, maybe like the third time.
Yeah.
Within a year's time period. Mm-hmm. The first time they'll just, as is with a lot of things you get caught with. I mean, if you fail a drug test, get caught. Pretty much anything aside from assaulting someone with a knife to where they have to go out of their way to carry them to an outside medical facility. If you do something like that, you're going to solitary. But anything less than that, including phones, I mean, they'll bring you up in front of a little prison board and just kind of do this little prison style trial, and you end up getting
court.
Yeah. And you'll lose canteen and phone privileges, like the actual jail phone privileges, for 30 days, next time 60 days. And if you get caught a third, you're going to solitary for 30 days. Then you can come right back out and get another. Yeah.
Absolutely. It blows my mind, because where I was locked up, if you get caught with a phone, they're going to charge you with a 0 to 5 escape charge. And the Board of Pardons, because we have undetermined sentencing, which means the court the judge is what gives you your guys' time or whatever. So they'll say you're doing 5 years in prison. Like us, we get sentenced to prison, and then the Board of Pardons is what gives us our time, you know? So what happens is like the Board of Pardons the Board of Pardons will give you the whole 5 years for a cell phone. So it's just like people are so scared to have them. Like, does it happen? Right. Of course it happens. It's prison, but people are just really scared, man. They ain't trying to do 5 more years on a cell phone.
You know, honestly, if that was the case down South Carolina, I'm sure that would, you know, a lot of things would change down here. But man, I just feel like South Carolina's just still so country. I mean, no other way to put. There's just still so country, and just behind the times. And not to mention, I mean, they're you know. South Carolina prisons are naturally kind of surrounded by these big acres of wooded areas, and these guys are able to sneak through these woods and you know, at 3-4 a.m. and it's just very easy to get this contraband in and throw it over the fence, you know, just because of the environment of the prisons. There's a lot of places to just hide, and when you're throwing the stuff over, and I don't know, man, they can't hire enough guards. I mean, they just can't keep guards more than 2 weeks. Nobody wants to work there, and if anybody does want to work there, man, there's a nice big check waiting on them if they want to, you know, work with the inmates, because these inmates are making bank down here in South Carolina. So yeah, man, it's a pretty wild place.
People don't understand that guards only get like what, 16 to 18 an hour.
Yeah.
So when they get offered $2,500 in one day just to bring in a cup, they're like, all right, I'm going to do it, you know, literally pay my mortgage off this month.
Exactly, man. And it's like, dude, it's wild. And I mean, it's real easy to do that down here. And, it's definitely going on.
So what would be the number one thing that you learned from prison that you still put into your daily life as it is right now?
Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to do it for you. You got to get up and do it yourself. Absolutely. And that applies to a lot of things, you know, whatever you want to apply that to, that applies. And also, I mean, one rule I always took away from there, always remain useful, man. I always say that, always remain useful, because if you're useful to nobody, you're useless to everyone, you know, and that's just not a good, you know, position to be in ever. And that's just, you know, that may help you through life. Maybe it won't, but that's what I took away from it.
I definitely agree. So with this whole thing that happened on the internet about taking over a black prison gang, is there any truth to that, or was it you just trying to troll the internet to get a reaction?
Well, I will say, I mean, I know how, like, at least in the first sentence or two, I knew how I worded that would definitely catch a lot of attention. You know, as far as the truth to it, I mean, you know, I think a lot of people just look at the specific gang I was talking about, and they just kind of put it like, oh, he's saying he took over the entirety of this gang, this very well-known gang, when it's more so like, you know, as you know, things are the way they are on specific yards. You know, I'm only at the yard I'm at with the people I'm at who are also in this gang. And if I'm the most important, most influential, and I got the most resources, if I'm the most valuable, if I can make the most important things happen that matter to the most people who are also there with me, I mean, then you become untouchable. Absolutely. You get what you want, you know, and things go a certain way for you. And that's what I call it. You know, I guess people really took it like he's saying he took over the entire, and that's not the case. You know, it's really more so dialed into that prison. That's the way it was, you know, so there is truth to it, but I do know that the way I worded it, you know, there was some shock value in there.
You make a good point, because I feel like everybody tries to compare, like, just because the bloods are different in every organization and every different prison, you know, they operate, they function differently. So if you're useful, like you said, if you're the plug, you got the pull, because people don't want to lose that. They don't want to get on the bad side of somebody that's either the plug or is able to get phones or able to get anything like that, you know?
Right. For sure.
So since being out of prison, what would you say your biggest regret is?
I got 2 big regrets. Number one, not starting YouTube sooner. If I'd have been doing that as long as I was doing everything else, I'd probably be a lot further along with everything than I am now. But number 2, and probably more important than number 1, I do regret a situation I got in, just got myself into. You know, a lot of these are just allegations, the whole incident, can't say too much about it, but something that took place or may have not took place at a bar a few months after I got released, long before I started any YouTube or anything. And something I'm still dealing with legally. You know, that could be trouble for me. I hate to have that hanging over my head this entire 2 years that I've been out. And definitely if I could just go back and not even be in the proximity to where it would get me in this situation or even tied into this incident in any way, that would be a great change I'd like to make. So
absolutely. Well, you know that you got plenty of friends. When it comes to the prison community, there's so many different people that won't let you go without, you know. So at least this, like, if you do end up going and doing time or whatever you got to do, like, at least you know you got a bunch of new friends that don't expect nothing out of you, that just wants to show you love, you know.
For sure, and I'm blessed to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. So since being out, what would you say your biggest accomplishment is?
Honestly, man, I could say a lot. I could say something related to social media. I could say something related to just, you know, I have a house. I have, you know, a great relationship with a loving girl who supports me. I mean, you know, I've repaired a lot of relationships with my family members, and all of these are great. But I'd say, you know, something that kind of ties into all that is just, it's something I always worried about being in there, is if when I got out, I'd be able to flip that switch back off. You know, the switch you got to flip when you go into prison. It can consume you. You know, it's the person you got to be in there, but it's not the person you want to be forever. And it's a person that you hope you don't have to be anymore once you get out. And I always used to worry, would I be able to flip that switch back off? Would I be able to adjust back the way I adjusted into this prison guy I got to be in here? Would I be able to get back to myself, who I really am? And I think I've done a great job of that. And I'm proud of that. I'm glad that's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been going through that with a couple people, because I told a story about how I had to get into like an altercation where I ended up having to like stab somebody, you know? Yeah. And they're just over here trying to run my name through the dirt. Oh, you're a bad person for that. I'm like, you guys don't understand that in prison, it's a dog eat dog world. So if I didn't do that, then my people would have done that to me, because their hands were forced, you know. Right. It's just it's how it works, but it don't define who I am. It don't make me a bad person, you know. And
exactly,
I feel like all we can really do is just try to live and learn.
For sure, I agree with that.
Well, I don't really got any more questions, brother, but I definitely appreciate your time. I'm gonna get this all ready to go. Before I leave, please make sure you guys are clicking the link below, because I'm going to put his YouTube, all his social media platforms, probably his link tree if he has one. And just make sure that you guys are dropping comments and likes. And if you guys like this, hopefully, if he agrees, we can get him back on the show. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys, and y'all mean the world to me. JD has a better fucking thing, bro.
What do you mean? What does he say?
He says, be good or be good at it.
We gotta come up with some shit. I still ain't got no little outro catchphrase.